In 2002, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office indicted Kozlowski for evading over $1 million in sales tax, and he resigned as CEO.
Where have the times gone, baby? It's all wrong. Where are the plans we made for two? Yeah.
Tyco Incorporated was formed in 1960 by Arthur Rosenberg. It was an investment and holding company focused on the application of science and energy conversion. In 1962, they started looking for acquisition companies, and in 1964 they became publicly traded. In 1965, they changed their name to Tyco Laboratories and began to focus on manufacturing industrial products. In 1976, Dennis Kozlowski was hired as the assistant controller, and in 1980 they divided the company into 3 segments: fire protection, electronics, and packaging. Kozlowski became the president of the Grinnell Fire Protection Systems Company, which was their largest division. Kozlowski set salaries low and set up a bonus structure to coincide with profit earnings. Kozlowski designed the corporate culture for the growing firm. There was no micromanaging of the employees, and management was intimidating. The strategic direction came from Kozlowski, and all the employees benefited from meeting strategic goals, from multi-million-dollar bonuses to extra week salary for lower-paid employees. Tyco was effective year after year of cutting costs. Some of the manufacturing processes went from 3 weeks to 2.5 hours. They had just-in-time inventory, and they excelled at converting inventory to receivables and then to cash in the quickest cycle possible. In 1995, Tyco had an unpublicized move from New Hampshire to New York, and in 1997 they acquired ADT in a reverse takeover to move the company to Bermuda to avoid foreign income subject to U.S. taxes. At this point, Kozlowski made room on the board of directors and the compensation committee for the former directors of ADT. Their compensation soared. Kozlowski's bonus that year was $125 million, and one of the top management team received a bonus of $13 million. During the period of 1994 to 2001, Tyco spent over $63 billion acquiring over 1,000 companies.
In 1999, the SEC investigated Tyco for accounting abnormalities with the acquisition of their companies. The charges were dropped. Shortly after, Kozlowski wrote off over $100 million in personal company loans. In January of 2002, Kozlowski announced the plan to split Tyco into 4 separate companies. Later that month, the New York Times announced that Kozlowski and Schwartz, the CFO of Tyco, sold over $100 million in stock. The combination of these 2 events just added to the decline in the stock price. Later that year, on June 3rd, Kozlowski resigns unexpectedly and the stock price drops to the lowest point to date. The next day, Kozlowski is indicted on tax evasion charges. In September, Kozlowski and Schwartz are indicted for extortion. They frivolously spent the company money on personal items. They were also charged with fraud for $430 million on the sale of the stock.
Kozlowski's excesses were revealed in excruciating detail. Decorations for the New York apartment became classic tabloid headlines, mocking the CEO's taste and his greed. The $15,000 doggy umbrella stand, and the ultimate symbol of his downfall, that $6,000 shower curtain. And then there was the 40th birthday party for Kozlowski's wife Karen in Sardinia. It was togas galore, a 4-day festival of flesh.
Let's rock. Hey, where did we go?
Jimmy Buffett was flown in for the music, and guests were treated to a special cake, an anatomically correct woman with exploding breasts. The cost was over $2 million. Since Kozlowski claimed it was in part a work retreat, Tyco footed half the bill.
In December, one of the members of the board of directors pled guilty to accepting a $20 million unauthorized bonus for the CIT Group acquisition. In 2005, the jurors find Kozlowski and Schwartz guilty of stealing more than $150 million and are sentenced to a maximum of 25 years in prison. Prior to the discovery of these improprieties, Kozlowski successfully maintained the image that everything was business as normal at Tyco. Fueled in part by the acquisition of CIT Group in March of 2001, Tyco throttled forward, almost impervious to the fallout from the collapse of the dot-com bubble and the events of 9/11. However, foreshadowed by a series of SEC 10K and 10K 405 restatements and an ongoing investigation into financial reporting irregularities, it was in December of 2001 that Kozlowski's house of cards began to crumble, with Tyco stock losing 3/4 of its value in just over 6 months. With earnings per share falling into negative territory and share prices declining by 3/4, Tyco's shareholder values have been devastated. Tyco's share prices dropped from 5.35 times book value of equity in 2000 to a mere 1.16 times book value of equity in 2002. Not only had shareholders' returns diminished, but investors' confidence in Tyco's management was shattered.
After Kozlowski left Tyco in June 2002, the former president of Motorola, Ed Breen, was appointed CEO of Tyco. Breen hired a former employee of Motorola, Eric Pillmore, to be the senior vice president of corporate governance. Together, Breen and Pillmore restructured Tyco's corporate governance. Breen asked the entire board of directors to step down, and they agreed. Breen also fired the entire top management team. Breen and Pillmore changed the leadership, policies, communication of policies, and the communication among the divisions and management. They needed to rebuild the trust of the public, the shareholders, and the investors.
In order to rebuild, new board of director guidelines were written and a delegation of authority took place. A guide of ethical conduct for every employee was distributed, and proactive response to shareholder concerns was emphasized. Tyco wanted a more transparent board of directors and top management team. They also implemented a division to monitor complaints and ethical questions, which reported directly to the board of directors. Tyco instituted a new system of financial checks and balances to prevent future fraudulent behavior.
Breen also changed the executive compensation. Before the scandal, there was excessive pay and bonuses. Kozlowski received $120 million in bonuses in 1 year. That's more than Breen's salary and bonuses in his first 5 years as CEO of Tyco. There was excessive severance packages and no minimum requirement of Tyco stock shares to be held. After the scandal, they reduced the short-term financial incentives. They put a limit on the executive pay and placed a minimum shares of Tyco stocks that must be held when received as bonus or compensation. Under Kozlowski, there was a culture of intimidation with a top management team made up of yes men and women. Pillmore and Breen took the values of Tyco and translated them into observable behaviors. They changed the culture to one of high ethical values from the top down. Breen thought it was critical for management to monitor and coach lower-level employees. Character is a quality placed high in the priority in the new Tyco administration. Leaders must model ethics from the top down and communicate what they expect from all the employees. They had to communicate these new policies to over 240,000 employees in 100 countries in 17 languages. They moved their corporate headquarters from expensive high-class offices in Manhattan to modest offices in Princeton, New Jersey. As an example of modeling from the top down, Breen eats lunch in the corporate cafeteria and parks in the employee parking lot.
Tyco's plan to break up their company into 3 sub-companies did not go without criticism from the media. Many second-guessed Tyco's plan and believed it was done because Tyco had no other ideas. Others claimed it was a financial show that was done to turn the attention of investors. But even though there was a lot of criticism from the media after the split, they still believed Tyco's strategy to lower organizational costs was in the company's best interests. Others in the media got away from criticism and more towards coming up with a plan to help Tyco get back on track. There was a belief throughout that Tyco needed to find a way to restore their corporate governance in a way that would regain trust in the company. One suggestion was that they should look to outsiders to sit on their board, especially those with a clear history of autonomy. This would help Tyco to regain transparency and go a long way towards rebuilding their reputation. People realized that the future lied in the boardroom more than anywhere else. With a new sense of trust in the company, they hoped to rebound and get back on track. Tyco did go outside the company with the decision to name Edward Breen as CEO, and it proved to be a very wise decision.